So you're growing up in Boston. Your father's building a company that's becoming one of the biggest mutual fund complexes in the world. Was it complicated growing up with your father and family being so famous, or were you relatively anonymous as a young child?
We were not famous at
You
all.
weren't?
I mean, this was the equity market in the
Right.
1970s, David.
So
Nobody
you
in
were
the
never-
equity
no.
markets in the 70s was famous. People
Right.
thought the equity markets were dying back then. I mean, people were asking my father, why are you still doing this?
So you grew up relatively modestly, you would say?
We were comfortable,
Okay.
but not any lifestyle that anybody would be wanting to show on TV or be particularly impressed with.
You knew you wanted to go into business and go to Harvard Business School or not?
I was definitely thinking about business school, but I wouldn't say I had the confidence to be sure that I could actually make it there and be successful. After I finished in college, I wanted to go into business and get a good business experience. I had worked at Fidelity during the summers, so I came here to New York and I worked in a strategy practice for management consulting firm, Booz Allen Hamilton, you know well. And that was a great experience. I had been a liberal arts undergrad, so being immersed in business analytic challenges was a terrific experience.
Did your father say, okay, now you have an obligation to come into the family business?
He never said I had an obligation to come into the family business. And it's interesting because both of my parents always encouraged me and my siblings to do what we wanted to do the things that we were most passionate about with our lives. And my father in particular, his father's family, before his father had become a lawyer, they had a dry goods store and they had run it in their family for a couple of generations. And his uncle had been pressured by his family to go work in the dry goods store. And he hated it. He didn't enjoy the work. He did it because he was pressured by his family to follow this tradition and go into the family business. And it made a real impression on my father. And he said, I never want to pressure into my kids because I wouldn't ever want my kids to have this life that his uncle had.
So on your own, you chose to go into the business. And did your father say, if you work hard in 20 or 30 years, you'll be the CEO, or he never promised that?
No, he was not a guy who made promises to anybody.
So when you're working in a family business and your father is the CEO, is it awkward at times because people presume that you're going to rise up because of your family connections?
It can be awkward, particularly when people don't know you. If people don't know you, they tend to presume something about you, and it tends to be one extreme or the other. But as with any work environment, everybody has to show up for work and do their best job that they can to produce the best work product that they can and make their contribution to the business. And over time, people get to know you and they appreciate you for what you do. And don't forget, after my very early days as a summer intern, the part of the business that I went into was the asset management, the equity management part. And as an equity analyst, you're given responsibility for a group of stocks, and you have to make recommendations as to whether the fund managers should buy, sell, or hold the stocks. And you are judged by how well you do on your recommendations. So if you tell all the fund managers to buy stocks that go down, then you don't do so well. And no one can really excuse that.